as we're approaching September, I think I know what most Apple sheep are really, really excited about, that brand new Apple Watch Series 3. There's also an iPhone coming out, I think. I don't know much about it. But for a long time, I've kind of been concerned. Perhaps Apple won't be unveiling the Series 3 in September. After all, the generation from Series 0 to Series 2 was not exactly 1 year. And it wasn't exactly 2 years either. I think it was a mixture of like 15, 16 months. And given there hasn't been a lot of rumors about the next generation Apple Watch, I thought maybe there will be a new one, but it'll be kind of a side gig, like an Apple Watch S. Because all we've really been hearing is that there will be glucose monitoring, as in diabetics will be able to view their blood sugar levels, which is great and helpful for diabetics, but I feel like people who are not diabetic don't need to go out of their way to buy a whole new watch just so that they can monitor something they don't need to monitor. So then what would end up happening is the Series 2 would cost the same amount. There wouldn't be any new options other than that one extra S model that's $200 more, and there may be a couple more Apple Watch band selections, but for the most part, there wouldn't be a refresh. That's not impossible, and while I really hope that doesn't happen, there is actually some evidence pointing to the idea that there is going to be an entire refresh. The manufacturing plant that assembles all of Apple's watches says that a massive number of their employees are being dedicated to just assembling a brand new lineup of Apple Watch. So there is some fact pointing to the idea that there is a massive refresh for the Apple Watch coming up. And when I say massive, I just mean new tier, new category for Apple Watch, a new standard, as in hopefully the Series 2 price will go down. So if you haven't bought an Apple Watch yet, I wouldn't recommend buying one right now. I'd say wait till September, and if the Series 3 is actually worth it, definitely, of course, put your money down for it. But if it's not, the Series 2 that is close to $400 right now will become significantly cheaper, and then it'll be even more worth it. I've been using the Series 2 since the day it came out. Bought it on launch date. It's been holding up great. Those 1000 nits are still very bright. It has a dedicated GPU, which is holding up well, and I've never suffered any water damage from it. And I've worn it in the shower every day I've owned it, swam with it, both in pools and in the ocean. It's held up great. But still, I'm very excited to see what kind of changes we'll be seeing for the Apple Watch in September. And like I said, there's very few rumors, but the one we've been hearing about is that physically the Apple Watch will not be that much different. They're going to keep the design of it, but they're going to be heavily working on the expansion of battery life, which of course is really great. A lot of my friends have actually been having problems with their Apple Watch batteries over time not being able to hold as much power, and I don't really have much to complain about with my Series 2 in terms of battery life. It's held up really well, actually. Usually by the time I go to bed, it's around 60 to 50%, so it can easily last 2 days. But if Apple wants to increase that to 3 days or maybe 4, then all the better. This could allow for more things like sleep tracking, for those of you who want that. I'm not actually sure why people are so interested in sleep tracking. I used to track my sleep for a while, and it was like, oh look, I didn't sleep well last night. I already knew that. Or, oh look, I slept very well last night. Cool, I didn't remember. It's like the activity rings on the Apple Watch. Those are great because it shows you when you've been sitting for too long or when you haven't been very active. It shows how many calories you've burned, gives you a set goal so you know how many calories you should burn. And it's good to have goals because if you don't have a reaching point to get to, there's no incentive to try harder and to go out of your way to exercise. But I don't know how you're supposed to read your sleep tracking activity and act on it. It's like, oh, I better try to sleep harder this time. Anywho, I'd still love an Apple Watch that can last a lot longer, especially if they're able to put a more powerful GPU in it, maybe make the display even brighter than 1000 nits. For those bright days outside when the sun is shining on your watch, it helps for the display to be so bright. I just want to see more improvements and enhancements to the Apple Watch. In fact, while I'm talking about it, why not more of a design lineup? It's got 4 colors, just like the iPad Pros, but if you're buying an Apple Watch, it means you have to have some form of iPhone. And the iPhone 7s don't even come in space gray anymore, so why not diversify the Apple Watch lineup even more? Like, we have a product red iPhone. I'd love to see an Apple Watch that came in product red, like actual aluminum, not just the watch band. The Nike bands are great. I wish they would expand that color spectrum further, like with more colors from the rainbow, including red. There's not a Nike product red band that's like official from Nike. I know there's third-party ones, but those are never as good. I'm not interested in that. I just want it from Apple. I want to go to an Apple store and see a product red Nike Apple sponsorship. Wow, that's like a sponsorship. That's a lot. Still worth it. And watch bands have lots of different color options. It would make sense if there were more Apple Watches that supported all those different colors. So we've got blue ones. Let's make a blue Apple Watch. There's green watch bands. Let's make a green Apple Watch. Just diversify a bit more. And one question I've actually got a lot that I'm really curious about is, what will the Apple Watch Edition be this year? With the Series 0, we got solid gold Apple Watches that basically no one bought, but they made a lot of money. With the Series 2, we got the ceramic Apple Watch, which is really cool. And it's not as pricey, but still $1,200, $1,400 for a watch, that's a little up there, so it earns the right of addition. So with the Series 3, what are we gonna be seeing exactly? I've heard lots of different ideas, but what personally I would like to see is the idea that the entire unibody could be made of a solid sheet of glass. That way, instead of having a seam where the glass and the aluminum meet, we just have one solid piece of glass that goes all the way around. The button, the digital crown, they're all made of sapphire glass, which is highly durable, very difficult to scratch, and I think the design of an Apple Watch that was solid glass all the way around would look a lot cooler. And yeah, it would probably be very hard to assemble and create a piece of glass that's in that shape, but that's why it's the Edition, of course. This thing would be very hard to make, but it would cost a lot, but it would look amazing. There would just be less lines in general on the watch itself. Instead of having a seam between glass and stainless steel, instead just making one solid piece. I think that would look excellent, especially with the Link bracelet. That's what I would like to see. I don't know what Apple's actually gonna do in terms of Edition color, but of course I'm very curious to find out, and if you have any better ideas, let me know in the comments below. And before I go, if you want Apple Sheep merchandise like I Love AirPods or Give Me a Break activity rings, please check all those out in the links below, simply called Apple Sheep merch if you want to buy them. I don't get very much off of them, so don't worry about that, but it's just an item for you if you're curious to check out. Please do. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.